webinar. Awesome. And yeah, I guess we're gonna wait a little bit for people to join in.
No probs.
But
Do it.
yeah, I see them flowing in, so that's great.
Oh
We had
yeah?
a
Oh
first
good.
session today.
That's
We
good
had
to
a
hear.
first session today at 7:30 UK time. So I thought
Okay.
lots of people wouldn't wake up so early, but
People
to
are
my
waking up. Well,
surprise,
that's good. I don't know if I was awake, to be honest with you.
the turnout was very nice,
That's awesome.
which is awesome. But essentially, anyway, we are going to publish all of the recordings for this and any other session on YouTube. So
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
it's gonna be available for everyone. Yeah, so I'm just gonna say hi to everyone in the chat. Let us know, guys, where you're calling in from. Ask any questions. Ask any questions you might have on the chat or on the Q&A. We will be keeping an eye on this. I'm gonna be posting a couple of links on the chat to the resource center with essentially the agenda, all of the materials, slides, schedules, links, etc. So we have this tiny page that you can follow. Mm, yeah, and that's about it. And I think we can kind of kick things off, I would
No
say.
probs.
Uh, so hello everyone again. My name is MJ. I'm the co-founder of ZenABM, and with me is Philip, who's the founder at KiiN LinkedIn Ads Agency. So Philip will introduce himself properly, much better than I can do. I'll just say a couple of words. So this is the second session and first guest speaker session for our ABM Bootcamp. If you missed the first session today, early in the morning, don't worry. We will be posting recordings over everything, so you can catch up on it on your own pace, essentially. If you are not part of the Slack yet, I will be posting a link in the chat soon. So join in. You can ask questions to the speakers there, even after the sessions, and just pick their brains from, and hopefully they will be able to essentially assist you. So, two words about ZenABM before we proceed. Essentially, it's a platform for running ABM campaigns on LinkedIn that helps you understand what's going on in there, gives you a company level ad engagement insights, the intent, so what kind of content the companies are engaging with, the full ABM funnel with the account scoring system in place, the customer journey and deals attribution. So, essentially, understanding how your LinkedIn ads contribute to deals opening, deals closing, the entire analytics dashboard with pipeline revenue attribution, met all of the key effectiveness metrics, pipeline per dollar, ROAS, how much you're opening, closing versus what you're spending, etc. All of it out of the box. Plus, you can use Zena, our AI agents, to essentially ask it anything about your data. So mix and match whatever you can think of, like campaign effectiveness, how they affect the pipeline, what are your top performing ads in specific time periods, comparing them, comparing formats, everything you can think of, Zena can probably answer. And to wrap it up, yeah, you can try it for free at zenabm.com. There is a code bootcamp, 10% off, limited to 50 users, first come, first serve till the end of the bootcamp. And with this, I conclude my tiny intro and I stop sharing my screen, hand over the mic to you, Philip, and take it away.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm super excited to be here and showing, like, yeah, going over this whole thing. And yeah, Zen ABM you can definitely use for some of the things I'm going to be showing because it's like basically what we're going to be talking about today and something that I'm really, really passionate about. It's kind of a development, like an intro to me. I've been running LinkedIn ads for a really long time. LinkedIn ads is my deep, deep, deep specialty. I've been hyper focused on LinkedIn ads for many years, helping tons of companies, ridiculous budgets, this kind of stuff. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but kind of it's evolved, and this is what this masterclass is about. LinkedIn ads with outbound and go to market and using tools like ZenABM, but also tools like Clay and all these different tools are making a new go to market strategy possible, which connects LinkedIn ads with outbound, and it's super powerful. I would say it's one of the most powerful go to market strategies there are right now, and this is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to just jump straight into the meat. Let's not waste any time. I know it's 10:30 GMT on Monday, so people probably have, things to do. Let's just get straight into me. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okie dokie. So this is just like to help me basically show what I'm talking about. So basically, as I mentioned, it's LinkedIn ads are really powerful. I would say LinkedIn ads are one of the best especially for account-based marketing or account-based targeting, it's probably the best platform out there in the entire planet. So LinkedIn, we can upload lists. Probably most people know this, but we can upload a list of companies and we can target those lists of companies. So it's a really powerful way to do advertising or to do, account-based targeting to a list or to an audience. So the one thing that's really powerful is that we can actually, I don't see LinkedIn ads as a performance marketing platform as much as actually a content delivery platform. This is what I'm trying to get people to see LinkedIn in a different way. Because if you see it as just pure demos and leads, especially with account-based marketing, it might not actually work in the way you want. It's definitely not just, input money and output leads. I don't think that's the way people should look at it. It does work. You can do it that way, and a lot of people do. But the better way to look at it is actually as a content delivery platform. So let's start from scratch. At the foundation of the strategy is a list of companies. And if you're doing account-based marketing, especially, this list is really important. But even if you're not doing an account-based marketing, even if your ICP is 20,000 companies, it could be much bigger, for example, you can still do this strategy. And what you can do is just actually find a list of companies that make sense over the next 90 days. Okay, which is the list we want to go over the next 90 days. So you don't have to target your entire ICP if it's bigger, or if it's smaller, that's fine. So this strategy works if your ICP is 20,000 companies or 1,000 companies or even less, if it's like what you're trying to do quite a small list of companies. But the most important part is the list. And at the foundation of the strategy is to have this list, which forms the foundation of everything we do next. So I would suggest everyone to get a really good list of your ICP. And if your ICP is larger, and I'll go into this in a minute, if your ICP is too large for the budget you have, and I'll explain this in a minute, then I would actually layer on a signal on top of your list. So for example, if you're mine, it might be like VPs and demand gen type of people in B2B SaaS companies. Cool. That's actually quite a wide group of people. There's a lot of them in the UK and US. There's over 10,000, I think there's 17,000 SaaS companies. There's a lot of these. But what you can do on top of that is maybe layer on a signal. So it could be, for example, recently funded companies for us might make sense. So they have budget, they need to do something with the budget. So that might make sense for us. Other signals might make sense for you, and we can go into what kind of signals there are in a bit. But basically, that's a good way to actually get your list a little bit tighter, adding a signal on top and making sure that list is like really close, like getting quite tight. And the reason why you need a tight list is because a lot of people don't have a huge amount of budget. And actually, everyone is limited with their budget. Even if they have 100K a month, you're still probably, well, not all the K. There are limits to budget, but most people are limited with their budget. And it's really important to match the target, your IC, like how many people you're targeting with your budget, because part of this strategy is to deliver content, and this is phase one of this strategy. You need to deliver content to your ICP. Your ICP needs to know who you are, what you do, the social proof. And I'll go into the content buckets in a minute. They need to understand your product really, really well. So your ICP needs to understand this. And the first thing we're trying to do with the LinkedIn ads is actually deliver content to your ICP so they know who you are, what you do, how your product works, who you help, why you're different, us versus them, old versus new. This is the kind of stuff people need to know, like before they can sign up to your SaaS or B2B consulting company, they need to know about you, all these different buckets about you. So basically, if your ICP is big and your list is really big, but you only have like 2K budget or 5K budget, and you have a list of 100,000, in your ICP, you're only going to hit a very small penetration rate with very few bits of content, and it's going to be so sparse, no one's really going to know anything about you. So my minimum is 5 bits of content, and this is debatable. I debate with people all the time, and we can go to first principles and just decide what makes sense. From an ABM perspective, it could be a lot more, but the absolute bare minimum is 5 bits of content, which are thought leader ads, and I'll go into that in a minute as well. 5 bits of content, 5 impressions per person at the bare minimum. I would, from an impression perspective, have probably 10 impressions or more. But if we're working from 5 times 5, you need to make sure your budget can actually deliver that to your ICP. You got to recognize that probably only 70% of the list you have come online every month. So there's kind of an equation I have here. So like your audience size times zero point 0.7 times 25 impressions divided by 1,000. So you get your impression, probably like $75, whatever your impression is. and you multiply it by the CPM. So I can put this somewhere in some point, but you can work out the budget you need for the audience size you have by doing quite a simple formula in that way. So that starts with getting the list right. And as I mentioned already, the next phase is actually what do we do with that list? We deliver content to that list. And we use LinkedIn ads. And one format we're using the most is thought lead ads. So AI made my profile look like this. I don't think it looks like me at all, but I put a post of mine through AI, and this is what I came up with. But this is a thought lead ads. And if you look closely, it says promoted by KiiN. So you can actually promote posts which look organic. I'm sure a lot of people know what this is already, but it looks organic. It's part of your feed. It's coming from your profile. So people engage with it more. People like and comment and engage and actually read it as if it's organic because it's very hard to see that it's not it's actually a paid promoted post. Whereas the other format, which is all we had traditionally for many years, was coming from your company post page, and it'll be your logo plus it'll be like a very corporate kind of image, and the click-through rates are very low on those, like 0.45 to 0.5% on average. It's just like not a very engaging way to deliver ads. Whereas now with full lead ads, they're very engaging. We can do long form posts. We can be educational. The engagement rate's higher. Or everything's better with a full lead ad. So enough upselling full lead ads. But this is from an ABM perspective, and for a lot of the strategy we're building out for clients, I would say we lean on full lead ads way more than any other ad format. Probably 80% of the thing we're doing in the middle of funnel from a LinkedIn ads perspective is for lead ads. We're really leaning heavily on for lead ads. I'm not going into a full LinkedIn ad strategy. I've got other videos around this. Today, we're actually just talking about how to join LinkedIn with Outbound. So I'm not going to go too much detail into the full LinkedIn ad strategy in this video because I'm sure there's time limits. But basically, if we're trying to do from this perspective, we're now delivering content to this really great list. We have a list. We're delivering content to this list. We're trying to get very high penetration rate, high we're trying to get enough content in front of enough people, so enough frequency. So we're basically this content is telling them who you are, what your product is, how you work, why you're different, compared to your competitors. We're trying to find your unique selling point. Your social proof. We're trying to communicate that to your ICP. And that's done through the content delivery platform, which I call LinkedIn Ads. And we're delivering that content. So eventually they're going to be receiving a lot of this content from you. And that's part of the middle of funnel nurture part. So they're understanding all this stuff about you. So with LinkedIn ads, so that's demand gen, that's demand creation. Um, and then there's the next stage, which is demand capture. So we're creating demand, we're educating your market, we're telling them who you are, all this kind of stuff. And then the next step after that is we need to capture demand. So we're trying to do different things with different tools. And demand capture can be done with LinkedIn ads. In fact, you have lead gen forms, and it can be done with Google ads, for example. Google ads are very good for capturing demand. And you can send, for example, there's a whole capture strategy we have with conversation ads, etc., etc., etc. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can capture demand in all sorts of different ways, including LinkedIn ads, including Google ads. But one of the most powerful, I would say, is signal-based outbound. And this is what we're going to go into now. Signal-based outbound or using warm outbound on top of the LinkedIn ads. So basically, I'm going to go down to here and go into this. Please tell me if you have any questions,
There is
anyone, before
one
I go.
question, so I just
Yeah,
unmuted
please.
myself. Like Victoria asks if you will be sharing this kind of a board.
I will be showing this Canva board. Possibly, I need to double check it, and it's kind of a work in progress. But eventually, I'll be sharing it probably to my newsletter subscribers. So I'll put out a post on where people can subscribe. But I share a lot of the stuff to newsletter subscribers first. It's kind of like what they get as being part of like the newsletter subscribers. So yeah, I'll probably share it over there.
We will put the link to Philip's newsletter in the resource center of the bootcamp, so you will be able to sign up there and get your hands on this.
But please ask me questions because I know I'm kind of going around in circles a little bit and sometimes not explaining things as well as possible. So if anyone has any questions, please do interrupt me. And if this is kind of like phase one out of the way, we've got the lists, we've got the nurture part. So we're nurturing this list with content and we're using ads, LinkedIn ads to deliver the content. So just to summarize where we're at the moment. And the next step is actually we need to now work out about how to capture demand because everyone obviously needs demos and phone calls. Ultimately, every consulting call I have there, we always talk about these fluffy metrics, all this kind of stuff. But it always, even though we talk about all these, we want to reach these companies, this is our objective, it always comes down to like, we need demos, ultimately, like give us demos. And so I recognize they need pipeline, they need revenue. It comes from demos is the first, real hard metric I think people go down. So we need to now understand, um, whereas LinkedIn ads and outbound are mostly treated by most people still to this day as completely separate channels. I'm suggesting it should be nearly one cohesive strategy. And this is the reason why that is because there's all these amazing tools coming out like ZenABM, which can link our engagement, right? So, like for example, ZenABM, there are other tools that do the same thing, plus other tools getting different types of signals. But for example, one of the signals that, for example, a ZenABM can get is is basically company level engagement. So we have company level engagement, and so for example, in your ads platform, we have something which you can see the company engagement. In ZenABM, you can do the same, and you can link ZenABM to Clay. So Clay becomes your go-to-market center, but basically all these tools link up now in a really good way. So for example, one of them is we can start doing warm outbound. So we're nurturing this list, and through a tool like ZenABM, linking up to the companies tab in LinkedIn, we can actually start doing outbound campaigns to the companies that we know we've run ads to, and to the companies we know have received paid impressions, paid clicks, and paid engagement. So we're hoping when we do this warm outbound that these people now know who you are, know about your product. They have some recognition of your profile image, which your outbound profile image should be the same. On LinkedIn, outbound, it's the same, right? We're sending ads from your profile and we're doing outbound from the same profile. And if that picture is the same in email, suddenly you have this kind of recognition, brand awareness already. And these people should be opening these cold or warm emails in a way where they're like, oh, we kind of know what, who this person is. And I've actually been nurtured by them. So it's not complete like, who the heck is this person? It's coming in cold. So this warm outbound is really powerful when you connect it to the power of nurturing people with LinkedIn ads, the content delivery of LinkedIn ads. We're now connecting the outbound, warm outbound together. So it's actually one thing, and we need to treat them as one cohesive system with the warm outbound. So that's just one way. So there's
We have
warm.
some questions. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
going to
yes,
stop you,
please
but
jump in.
they pile up. So let's address some
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
no, go, go, go.
Victoria asks too. First, what kind of signals you're using in your strategies? Are they account-based or personal-based?
Okay, yeah. So this, I actually, I was going to get to that. So here we
Okay.
go. Signals. There are a bunch of different signals. I'll go through just kind of the four main ones, but there are actually signals are changing, and there are new signals that come up from time to time because there are amazing new tools coming, and because we have all these new AI tools and different types of tools collecting different types of data, we can now do different. We can now collect that. But the main kind of foundational ones that we use are social engagement. So we can use a tool like Triggerfy or Jungler. I'm actually going to be using Jungler a lot more at the moment, but I can put a tool set list also probably in my newsletter. I'll be putting it there. But basically, we can use different types of tools to do different things. So this one is about social engagement. So anyone who's liking and commenting and engaging with your thought leader ads, or for that matter, your organic content. So let's go back to here. So we have organic content and we have your thought lead ads. So the organic content is a strategy, which is an organic strategy where you're trying to get multiple people in your company to post regularly. And those posts are going to get free impressions. They're not free because they take tons of time to write the post, but you're not paying for the impressions. And you're going to get people liking and commenting. And then you have thought lead ads where you can actually just take those posts or strategically decide which ones make sense to put money behind, put those posts in front of the right people, the list, and anyone who's liking it and engaging gets we basically get that on a daily basis. We can monitor a profile or we can even monitor a company of profiles. And so we're monitoring that data is getting taken, is getting pushed to Clay. Clay is checking it for ICP. For example, is it the ICP that you want to reach out to? I don't want to reach out to other agency owners. It doesn't really make sense. They're really cool people. I don't mind having a chat to them, but it's not my ICP. I'm not trying to sell them anything. They're not trying to become my client. So it goes through through the ICP check, enriches it in Clay through whatever way, the waterfalls, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. Very specific part, and then it gets pushed out to your outbound. So this is one of the signals is we're collecting social engagement. The reason why this works quite well is because imagine I write a post about ABM LinkedIn ads, why account-based targeting on LinkedIn is really powerful, and I get a VP of marketing liking that. At that point, that is showing a signal that that VP of marketing is either thinking about ABM or in some way potentially in market for LinkedIn ads, ABM account-based targeting, something like that. They might not be, but often the algorithm is going to feed them stuff that's already there liking and commenting because it's on their mind. And if I'm putting 40 lead ads and they're liking something related to a service I'm providing, that's a potential signal. So that's just one of the signals. Well, shall we, did you have more questions related to that or shall I
Yes,
go
there
through?
are two other questions.
Okay.
So one is how much time do you allocate for the nurturing stage as minimum?
Okay, so the nurturing stage at a minimum is 4 weeks, I'd probably say, but it could be longer, and it really depends on budget. Budget buys data, budget buys like eyeballs, basically. So you need enough budget to make sure you're getting in front of the right people. But some people don't log in on a daily basis. They're not all, obsessed and addicted like I am. I'm on it 5 times, logging in and out all day, basically. So some people might only log in once a week, even once a month. Some people don't even log in that often. But most people on average will be logging, like there are a group of people who are logging in few times a week. And so we've got to make sure that we're running the ads to make sure we can hit them enough times throughout the month with the content we need. So I'd say 4 weeks minimum, but it could be t longer. And it really is a budget, it's a factor of budget.
Mm. Alrighty. Next question is from Kiki, which is in the list building exercise, does the strategy of the content delivery keep evolving based on the signals? And if so, how to do it at scale?
The content, sorry, could you repeat the question? The
Yeah.
content.
So when you're doing list building, essentially,
Okay.
do the content delivery strategy evolves based on the signals? And if so, how to do it at scale?
Kind of no. And this is why a lot of people say that, oh, just put up your best engaging content and do this and do that. I disagree completely. I actually think you need to have two layers. You need some engaging content and you need to be A/B testing that, of course. But there are some bits of in I see it that you just need to communicate information to people. So like your post about a really specific, you know, feature might not have the highest engagement, but actually it might be a feature that's really important to communicate. So we need to make sure we communicate that. So I would say potentially we can A/B test different ways of communicating. So let's write a post one day about the same feature, and then next week a same feature but in a different way, different hook, different style, and then again, and then we can be checking for example, clicks to landing page a metric. We can be checking the engagement rate metric. We can be checking these kind of metrics to say, okay, well, we definitely need to communicate this bit of information. So we're not going to not communicate that just because it's not getting the post about my cat got way more engagement than the post about my feature, but we still need to communicate this feature. This is really important that people understand that. So I would probably A/B test the way it's communicated, but we need to understand what it is people need to, understand about the product. Often you'll get that from sales conversations. So the best person to talk to is your salespeople, SDRs. What are the same questions that get asked over and over again in these calls? There's ways to understand what kind of content needs to be delivered and communicated to ICP.
Alrighty. We have more questions coming in, so let's
Bring them
let's
in.
go.
Let's
Is the
go.
number of that one should be simple? Is the number of audience measured by accounts or contacts?
It will be contact, so it's accounts times contact. So often you'll have with account based, especially you might have five, six, seven, eight. Who knows how many contacts? Like for example, I target probably generally a seniority of marketing people. So like I'll target the VP of marketing, demand gen, growth, and then you got to debate if you're targeting like bigger groups of people like marketing managers. But you got to just be careful with your audience size for sure. But it's a contact level.
Mm. Alrighty. Melissa asks, how much time on average does it take from first touch with leads to the moment they express interest?
It really depends on the type of product you're selling and the sales cycle and how complicated it is. So, for example, for us internally, it can literally be ad engagement, and I send them an outbound message, which happens automatically, and it's all happening on the same day. Like literally, it can sometimes be on the same day. That's not always common. We recently had the lead and I'm always trying to check attribution. Attribution becomes a complete mess sometimes. So like we're always trying to work out how it is. But I think it was like 18 months ago when I first the touch point, and now they're reaching out saying, "Hey Phil, would really like to talk to you about you helping us." So it's kind of like it depends on how much information, how complicated your product is, how expensive it is, how much your ACV is, how how the buying process is. It big buying committees? Do a lot of people need different information? Like we're quite lean because often we're targeting someone who's like a lot of these people are just in market for it as well or not in market for it. So you need to understand maybe only 1% of your market's in market. So those people might be really quick. They're thinking about it. They're already trying to solve the problem they already know about. But then there's this huge proportion of your market that's not in market and they're just in the nurture stage. So you need to be in front of those people. They need to, for example, you need to create content about why the problem's urgent. Maybe they don't even recognize the problems that as urgent. Or, for example, content which is okay. This is why, from my perspective, this is why you should probably reallocate your budget away from Google and more to LinkedIn. And I have actually real reasons why that is. But for example, that kind of content might get people thinking of like, that's true. LinkedIn's actually more important than I realized. If you look at the attribution, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go into that, the reasons. But this is the kind of, it really depends on so many factors, but it could be very, very quick or it could be months and months and months. Yeah. And outbound, the reason why outbound's so powerful, linking to this, is actually you can get very quicker signals if they're in market or not. So, like you're basically like you're starting conversations. Some people who also include the phone call element with some of the signals, not too much. They're just straight away like, "Hey, are you ready?" They're not asking this, they have a more clever way of asking, but they're basically asking, "Are you in market?" Yes, no, no, cool, no problem. So it's just a really quick way to get through people and to understand if people are in market or not.
And we have one more question, which I think is interesting and kind of touches upon the A/B testing you mentioned earlier. So Adam asks that regarding the outbound activities to warm audience, we promote our CEO's podcast via thought leader posts on LinkedIn, but the person who reaches out to the prospects is our BDM. I assume that there could be a problem with familiarity. Don't you think? On the other hand, it is impossible for us to engage our CEO in outbound activities on a larger scale.
Yeah, this is a common problem. And in all honesty, you either start engaging your BDR and putting thought leader ads and bringing him up into more public view, um, or for example, you can run conversation ads from the CEO and what they actually the conversation ad. So this is not the outbound part, but the CEO is the thought leader, and you're running conversation ads from the same profile, and it's not actually an outbound message. They're going to click and sign up for a demo, and obviously the demo is going to get pushed to a BDR, so not the CEO, and I think that's normal and acceptable. But yeah, I think the most powerful way to do it is if you have the brand and recognition, but a lot of companies can't do it, so it's a common problem. I still think the brand awareness, people don't only get the brand awareness from the face, that also ends up on the website. You also do run other types of ad formats. So there are, single image ads, PDFs. People also going to the website. So you're bringing brand awareness of the company as well as the individual person. So it doesn't have to link. It's better if it does.
All right, cool. I see one last question flowing in. I know I'm derailing you with the questions, but I think it's really
No,
cool.
it's all cool. And then I can go into some more
So,
of the signals stuff
yeah,
after
it's
as
about
well.
signals. So it
Oh,
probably
cool.
ties
Let's do
nicely
it.
to this. Do you prioritize certain signals like website visitors over others, like, for example, social engagements, or do you treat all of them equally? Is there a hierarchy essentially to the signals you guys use?
Honestly, the problem is actually a volume problem. So like we're struggling with volume. So if there's one flaw with the strategy, it's volume. And it's not the signals, the connection rates and all this kind of stuff are very high from signals. So we have like for example 50% connection rate from I think it was the social engagement one, rather than the average of 15 to 20%. So like the signals create really great interactions post, but there's not enough signals. So we're not really prioritizing. We just need as many signals as we can get. And so, for example, one of the challenges that I'm trying to work out, and please, if anyone knows how to do this, tell me. This is something that I may be testing at the moment, is the LinkedIn thought leader ads aren't, even if you're optimized for engagement, the cost per engagement or the cost per comment is really high. It's just too high. It's not like it's kind of a byproduct of running the content anyway, so it's not the main metric. But if we could work out how to get the cost per engagement to a really good cost, we could start scaling out that signal, for example. But yeah, it's actually a lack of, it's not a prioritization. It's just trying to get as much signals as possible. And normally it's not a numbers game. So when we don't need to prioritize, in terms of like we would need to prioritize if, for example, we didn't have enough, I don't know, emails to send or enough, there was just something that we didn't have enough of.
No, no more questions for now.
No more questions. I'll finish a couple more of these signals quickly. So yeah, someone just mentioned the website visitors. We have our client is actually Lead Forensics. They're really awesome, and they do this, but you can use any of these different tools. A lot of people know R2B2. But basically, website visitors is a really interesting one. It depends how much volume you have, and obviously some work better in the US. You can do contact based. In Europe, you can't because of GDPR. But still, it's good to get the companies that flow through and enrich the job titles that make sense. So this is a really cool one. Content leads and demo leads. I'm just going to go over content leads. So most people have decided to give up on content lead, like lead generation with their LinkedIn ads, because we got taught this whole new demand gen stuff came into play where you want to ungate everything and you don't want to get anything. You want to just give the information. I really believe in demand gen. I really believe in all that. But there's actually something that I think is coming back, which is content leads, for the reason that a lot of people gave up on content leads because what would happen is a content lead would come in and only probably 2 to 3% of those content leads are in market, ready to do a demo or ready to do anything. And you have 97% of them who are not. So imagine you're pushing 100 of these to your SDR team and they're just like getting only 2 to 3 and they're getting really frustrated and they stop taking these leads seriously after a while. So there's all these problems with doing that. So it's slowly people are like we never want content leads suck, it doesn't make any sense. We just want demos. We want a demand gen where we give them all the information, they come in for a demo. The reason why I think content leads actually are having a comeback are because of these new systems, these new tools which are coming into play. So rather than pushing all those leads, and I do this internally. I like content leads because I can get leads from VPs of marketing and demand gen people for $18 per lead from a 4 lead ad. So there's 2 reasons why content leads make sense now. There's one, which we have this format, which is really efficient and cost effective. And we can basically, through this, people are clicking on this and they're seeing all this social proof comments and like, so when they click through to get so I have a link in there, when they go through to my lead gen page, they already have the social proof. My landing page can suck but the proof is already there before they even get there. So the conversion rate I have is like 40% plus. Not because my page is special, it's because all the social proof there. So we have the 4 lead ads are creating this social proof, which are getting the conversion rates better on the landing page, which is getting the CPL way down. So if you can run this before people are running like content leads $100 per lead, I'm talking $18 that we're getting internally. So suddenly we get the economics of content right. Second part of this is we're now not pushing it to sales, we're actually pushing it to Clay, making sure it's enriched, and we're doing automated first touch stuff. So like basically it's like the automated connection request. And then for example, what I do is just push more content and I get inbound from people just saying, thanks so much, this is really useful. And then some of those people are like, hey, by the way, we actually want to do LinkedIn ads. So we're not pushing this and then we're nurturing it with email. And so I know I'm going all a little bit over the place of this, but the other reason why this is really awesome is I don't trust LinkedIn. I don't trust Meta, Facebook. The algorithms change, the costs rise. I want to start collecting my own media, my own ICP, in my own infrastructure, in my own ecosystem. I have really great follow-up emails and newsletter, and people, 48%, actually, sorry, it's gone up to 52% of the people who go through my flow have read at least 6 of my emails that follow up. So it's a really great flow. And I now have direct communication with them, and there's not a wall of an algorithm or the wall of having to pay for it in the way. So me getting content makes a lot of getting leads from content, i.e. low cost leads from content, makes a lot of sense, especially now that I don't have to push it to an SDR who ends up hating me because I'm just pushing all these leads. Now we can do this step before, and the SDR can actually only deal with the ones who have a positive reply and like, hey, actually, can we talk to you about this? Yeah, actually, we can. They're only dealing with those positive replies. So there's all these reasons why this flow works really, really well from a content lead. And I don't know if there's any questions, but I can talk about demo lead quickly.
Just one, which was what was the name of the tool that you said is alternative to Trigify?
Jungular, and it's honestly, it's the one we are moving to now. Maybe I don't know how to spell it. Anyway, I'll link it up somewhere, but it's Jungular. Hendrik from Jungular. He's really cool. We'll link it up somewhere. Um, do I have it here? It's just because we're moving over to them at the moment, and we're going to be using them. I haven't put them in my flows yet. But we'll link it up. Maybe we can put it somewhere. I have no idea. I'll probably post about Jungler soon just because I think they're really cool and they're doing really well. But going back to this quickly, the demo leads. So we had a client, we had more than one client, by the way, who have really slow follow-up on the demo lead. So demo comes in. So we're doing this amazing stuff here. We're doing the nurture. We're getting leads from, for example, our bottom of funnel capture demand ads, and a demo lead comes in. So what happens with a demo lead is that sometimes they book in a demo, they want to speak to someone, but they don't actually book in the calendar. There's the metric which there's a fall of people actually booking in the calendar, and then there's sales chasing them. Oh, we get it. And often what happens is sales are very slow. And we all know speed is really important. A demo comes in, you need to be fast. You need to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, kind of thing. Often sales will be 5 hours or 24 hours or sometimes 48 hours. I see this, and they're coming back to us asking, "Hey Phil, these leads suck. They're not booking in the calendar." I'm like, "Yeah, we need to be really fast with them. It's really important." So what we've done is actually just set up a demo flow. So a demo lead comes in, it goes into your HubSpot or wherever it goes into. We push it via Clay, and then we do the first touch. We have a connection request with them, plus an email goes out. Hey, thanks for the demo request. Please make sure you book in the calendar. So this is all coming up really fast from an email plus connection request plus an email follow-up. And you can design it in whichever way you want. You can get as aggressive as you want with it. The best one even is to push it to Slack enriched from Clay. So you enrich it with a telephone number, with who they are, the company details. So Clay can actually enrich it with many different ways. Push it to Slack. A BDR, SDR gives a quick phone call. Hey, we noticed you booked a demo. Could I actually book you in the calendar? Suddenly you're getting closer to like 80, 90% can like rate there if they're actually doing these extra steps. So we can do this now in a really good way. And we've seen a huge uptick in demo requests to actually people turning up to the demo because of these flows. Um, and the final one, if there's no questions, is topic listening. So for example, again with Jungular or Triggerfy, you can do topic listening. So again, topic listening is, for example, anyone who is talking about the thing you do. So for example, we run LinkedIn ads. There are other people talking about LinkedIn ads. We can actually collect the people who are engaging and commenting on that, and we can push it via claim, make sure the sentiment is good so that they're not just saying, I hate LinkedIn ads. That might be good to go outbound. I don't know, but you can check on sentiment if that makes sense or not. You can check that it's they're engaging in a specific way, and then we push it outbound. So this is kind of a way to get more volume around people who are engaging with other people's posts. I would strongly suggest you don't do a creepy message like I saw you like that random person's post. Don't go creepy. You can just use it as a signal to push it to your outbound campaigns because one of the most going more in outbound, the problem with outbound is timing and it being too cold. So this solves for that. This is the whole point why outbound, if you ask a lot of people who used to have outbound as their number one channel, most of them are seeing a massive decline in cold replies. Cold, I keep hearing this. So the new way to do this is do warm bound, i.e. using LinkedIn ads. And second one is using signals as a timing. It's a time. I had an email the other month where someone was like, and I was thinking a lot at that moment, but I was so busy that I need to get someone to help me with my YouTube channel. I need someone to edit my movies. I'm editing my own movies. I just didn't have time to do it. Someone email, and I had like 10 emails before, and I just ignored them. But at that moment, because I was thinking about it, an email came in and said, "Hey, Phil, I saw your YouTube. I can help you with blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "That's perfect." And I replied, the timing was right. I was thinking about how to figure this out at that moment. So timing is a really important part with outbound, and signals help with timing. It's not perfect, by the way. It's far from perfect, but it's very useful and warm bound. So this is the, flow. The final other ones to get more, inspired is, for example, new hire. Often I have new clients come in, they just started their job a month or 2 months ago, and they're changing their agency, they're changing their tools, they're revamping everything. New hires always do that. Like their new VP of marketing comes in, they already worked with that and someone else, they're already new tools, they just revamp everything. So that happens all the time. For example, we have a client right now, product announcement is really relevant to them, to their product that they have. They have like a product management system for like these big, like big companies like Burberry. So product announcements is an important signal. So we can find actually tons of signals which are beyond this There are a lot of them out there, and you can get really creative with it because tools like Clay and all these different data tools are coming out. So we can get creative with those signals, which make sense to go outbound with. So it's generally the system. I'm sure I missed stuff, and I think I rambled quite a lot, but yeah, that's generally where we're at with it. Hopefully, it was clear.
It was quite clear, and yeah, we encourage everyone to ask questions if you still have any for Philip. Uh, yeah, so I don't know, Philip, is this we can wait a bit for the questions. Do you have anything else you want to share here? Maybe the address to your newsletter. We can put it on chat.
If you go on my website, you can, by the way, my website's being revamped at the moment, so it kind of sucks at the moment. But if you click on here, LinkedIn Ads OS, you can just sign up to this and you get signed up to my newsletter. But this is the full LinkedIn operating system that I'm running. And we're adding the whole outbound and go-to-market stuff to this. But basically, I have tons of videos that I am always posting on Loom. I have deep dives, I have playbooks that are coming out all the time. So probably in the newsletter is the best place to find that.
Awesome. I put the link on the chat. Veronica was kind enough to also put the link out for your YouTube. And we have two questions.
Yeah.
One,
Okay.
if budget and time is an issue, are there any low-hanging fruits to focus on?
I mean, honestly, it's always an issue. So yeah, for sure. The the low hanging fruit, I would say, is just I don't think you need to start with a big list to start with. Like you can start small, prove it out, and then scale it out. Like start with just like a smaller budget of a smaller list of companies and just monitor whether or not. So for example, in the companies page, with ZenABM and other tools, you can actually see pipeline, right? You can see whether or not those came from a specific list or not. So we can monitor your pipeline and revenue from the activity that you're running. So it's really important that we have the attribution pl in place to be able to monitor that. But for example, you can start from a small, you don't have to start with a big list with a big budget. You can start from a smaller list and just prove out that, this is working on in a smaller way. The second part is I would actually, if the honestly, the flow that works really well for me internally, and this is if you have a limited budget, is again, it's actually like goes against what everyone is saying at the moment, and it's content leads. I have, for example, I showed you this. This is getting me 17, $18 per lead from VPs of marketing. And I can show you this in another time. I also have, I post about this quite a bit, but I have a Google Sheet, which is a live Google Sheet, which I'm updating all the time. The conversion rate from lead, because of all the outbound flows and because of all the nurture I put behind it, the conversion rates like 3.8% of those are turning into demos, and something like 33% are turning into customers for the reason that there's this whole nurture. They come on the phone call with me. By the end of once they've got the content from me, once they've got the outbound from me, once they get the nurture from the email from me, once they book in, they're already like, Phil, I feel like I've spoken to you already. And I'm like, I've never spoken to this person in my life because they've seen all this content, they've seen all this thing, all this kind of stuff. So content, like just having one funnel or whatever, how you want to call it, one system is a good place to start. And for a lower budget, I would probably start with working out what is a really high level asset to have. And this goes against a lot of demand gen people, probably what you're going to hear in these in the next talks. Most people say don't do lead gen. Honestly, I'm finding it to be extremely successful. And I like collecting emails from my ICP. I think it's really important that I have direct access to my ICP. So for me, it's really important. And you can do this, you can scale this out slowly. You can start really small budget. And the first thing I would do is start with a really high level asset, an asset that's actually, I used to sell that for $500 and I had loads of people buying it. I've made it free because it's actually valuable. So if you're just running it with a crappy PDF, which should be a blog, it's not going to work. You need an actual asset, something that's not just content. So if you run it with a really good asset, you have a thought lead ad and you're getting the good cost per lead, I think you're, and a really good follow-up is really important. You can get that one flow working really well.
All right. Next question from Nikki. We have a very small list, around 580 contacts for our
Yeah,
LinkedIn ad campaign.
contacts. Okay.
Contacts. From your experience, is this very small?
I think this can work really well with that because you won't need a big budget either. So like creating a really good strategy around those 560 contacts. We've worked with a company that was selling to European banks. Aren't many European banks. It's a really small list. and it works really well where you actually like with a small list, it's even more important. You're not trying to fight for the demo. It's just about being in front of your ICP. And no, I can imagine your deal size is really big. I hope so because your ICP is so small. So if your deal size is really big, your sales cycle is probably really long. You're only trying to get very few customers a year. It's not about volume, right? It's about low numbers. So you need to the goal here is just to be in front of them with content, trying to be in front of them over a longer period of time. And you won't need a massive budget. So each month you could be updating your 40 that adds your content, and it's all about the nurture side of things. If you have a small list.
Alrighty. Next question is from David. I can partially answer this as well. Do you need to master Clay to be able to use outbound part with Signal? I'm just gonna chip in that on 10th of February, we're gonna have a webinar just on this. So you probably don't need to be a master, but it's good to know something.
I think the learning curve's quite quick. Like you can get learn Clay. It is complicated when you first look at it, but you can learn it quite quickly. And also you can, if you're trying to do it internally, you can also just find a freelancer to help you with a bit more technical stuff. As long as you understand your own strategy, you understand the metrics, you understand like the bigger picture, the actual down to and dirty physically making it up and happen. Sometimes you can just go on Upwork and find a freelancer to, because a lot of these freelancers, they might not know the strategy. They might not really know what they need to do because I speak to these some guys sometimes. But if you understand what they need to do and you're literally just telling them, they're very technically able. So if that's a problem, you can find someone technically able.
Yep. Alrighty. Kiki asks, what is a good audience size for ads, and do you recommend using company list or contact list when building an audience?
What is a good what? Sorry.
What is the good audience size for LinkedIn ads, and do you prefer or recommend using company list or contact list when building audiences?
So just to quickly start with company or contact company is better because LinkedIn match rate is very low on the individual level, whereas on the company level it's 90% plus. So we always go with the company. I mean, we can use both. You just won't reach a lot of those people from a individual level. So company is better, company list, and then you can layer it on with the correct job titles. So that's the first thing. The first part of the question was how big should your audience be? I think again, it's just related to your budget. Like I work from, for example, like 4,000 companies at a time. I'm working on those personally, individually, internally, and for the reason is because we don't have a huge budget. We have a few K, but I quite like working on smaller companies and making sure we're saturating those companies. Um, and if you, at the end of the day, if you're trying to target three people, that becomes like 10,000 big. But it really depends on your budget. Your budget needs to match. You need to be able to deliver enough content and enough impressions to the ICP. I can link this formula down somewhere or just go again. I'll put it all in this. I'm slowly revamping this OS. So inside is basically a Notion board where I talk a lot about videos about individual things. At the moment, it's mostly LinkedIn, but I'm going to be putting all this stuff in there. So maybe, yeah, sign up then. Hopefully, I keep saying this, but I'm struggling with time a little bit, but I'll be updating this.
Yeah, there's always not enough time for these. Okay, two more questions I see. Okay, more are coming in. Great. Dimitris asks, is it true that LinkedIn ad will make ads more expensive if your audience is small? In which case, smaller audience might be an issue.
Yeah, when you reach like really, really small, like under 1,000, the CPMs are way higher. But it's okay because you have such a small audience, it kind of balances out. But yeah, it's true. But it's not like once a certain point, it's not only about size, it's about who you're targeting. So, like if it's about it's what's it called? Not an algorithm. My brain just lost the word. It's an auction, right? There you go. So it's an auction, and that in that auction, there are a few factors that are taken into consideration, and one of them is how competitive it is like the people you're targeting. So if everyone's targeting VPs of marketing from SaaS companies, which they are, then that's a competitive group of people. So that's going to cost more. There are other factors that play into the auction. For example, LinkedIn will give your whole account plus your individual campaigns a score. So it takes that score into consideration. And if you have a low score regularly, your whole ads account gets a low score. So you got to be careful with how you run that. Sometimes it is a good idea just to start fresh. But yeah, those individual campaigns will get scores. It goes through an algorithm. I actually did a whole video on it actually is in my OS, that this video, and sometimes I forget even myself exactly the mechanics of the algorithm. But it's a score, it's this, there's a whole it works out exactly who wins the auction based on that. But one of the factors is how competitive is this audience to
Mm.
put in front of, and also the timing. So again, it's like less people are marketing at 2 a.m. rather than lunchtime or something. So again, there's a few different factors there.
Yeah, some more questions flowing in and some remarks. One of the remark is, I feel like to leverage LinkedIn ads in 22 you have to become a GTM engineer. That's from David. Well, maybe there is some truth to this.
I would say that if you're not leveraging GTM with your LinkedIn ads these days, you're missing a lot of potential. And that's what I'm trying to say. These channels used to be separate. I just feel like nowadays linking them makes a lot of sense. Like I feel like we shouldn't treat them as separate channels. They work so well together with the warm bound, using LinkedIn for one reason and using outbound for capturing demand, nurture, capture. It works super well together. So yeah, in a way, maybe that's true.
Yeah, Veronica asks, what's an underused tactic that you will be using more in 2026, which you didn't use so much in 2025?
Um, so I'm very big on video. So I have for example, I don't know if I should share this because it's probably a mess, but I have playbooks which I bring out all the time and they're Loom videos and I'm utilizing Loom in a really cool way. So these are just like, let me find one which is, yeah, so for example, this is actually like the equivalent of what I'm talking about now, but in a masterclass. I've just released it and I've barely even advertised to it, but I set ads up straight to this video, ungated, and I'm basically getting people booking calls with me right here. So this is something I don't even know if I want to tell people about because it works really nicely. But basically running ads directly to this works really well. And in the other video that I was doing last year, I had something like 3,000 people view it because I was running ads to it and I was posting about it a lot. I had literally people watch 100% of it multiple times. They would come back to the video, use it as a resource because these are like deep dives. And so I'm basically the thing that works for us internally, and I think it works for everyone, is just to be super, 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 super helpful. Give really good information. Like this video, I don't hold back, and the other video, and all of the videos, I just get really deep and dirty into the research. We're managing tens of accounts at the moment with all these A/B tests. I get all that and I put this in and I just give it to people freely. I don't have IP. If you want to rip me off completely, you can. Like it's all there. I don't hide anything, and that ends up working really well because the conversion rates on the phone calls and the inbound is really great. So one of these strategies that I'm going to be pushing now is driving traffic directly to a Loom video, which is a bit random. I don't know if other people are doing that, but it's been working quite well. But this
That's
is random. Let me just say that I don't know if that everyone should just start doing this now. Like I think that's not necessarily the best strategy. It's just one thing that probably I'm going to be doing a lot more of. The one thing I'd say everyone probably should do is try to collect your ICP as a lead and make sure you have an amazing follow-up, including like a follow-up email nurture, which is actually useful. That is a really simple flow that anyone can do, I think.
mm, that's awesome. Next question is from Lauren, which is, what if your company list is below the minimum 300 companies? Do we then just create a separate campaign manually inserting companies we would like to target?
So yeah, you can then there are some workarounds with that, but I think that it gets a bit difficult. So you can fill the remainder up with companies that aren't relevant and hope your creatives just don't interact with it because they're like, we don't care about the product at all. And so you're still reaching those 200 people, whatever it is, 200 companies, 200 prospects. But I don't know how many companies, if you only have like 50 companies and two or
The
three.
question was about free. Yeah, the question was like the question says below minimum 300. I can say, and this is something that I encountered last week, that manually you can insert only 200 companies in there before LinkedIn doesn't let you put any more in them. Don't ask me how I know.
Oh, manually. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like you put a lot. Sounds like you spent 3 hours doing that because I've done it before. It's bad. But yeah, with the company lists, yeah, you can just add irrelevant companies, I guess, as well. I think I need to remember the workaround. There's a workaround which I know there's actually a good workaround which is better than the one I'm saying. But I'd have to get back. I don't remember what it is at the moment, but there's a couple workarounds.
Awesome. I don't see any more questions, I guess. So, unless you, Philip, have anything else, we can probably wrap it up.
No, not all. Just like hope it was super useful. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's it really. Like it was a massive pleasure to do this. I'm really excited to do this more. And if anyone else wants me to do any talking about this on anywhere else, just please reach out. I'm really excited to share everything that we're doing internally.
Awesome. Thank you, Philip, so much. And thanks for everyone tuning in. Yeah, I guess I will see a lot of you tomorrow and a lot of you on Slack. So if you have any questions for Philip, you can post them there. We'll make sure they reaches him and he reaches out to you. So we'll try to get the answers if you come up with questions afterwards. All righty then. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Monday.